Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is like 3.4, number 16. I just left these two out of the things we went over yesterday. So you're asked to find all zeros, and it goes to x to the fourth. We looked at some that went to x to the third, looking at zeros, but we didn't get this involved. So sorry about that. I'm going to repair that by going over 2. You only have 1, number 16, but I'm going to look at 2 in case your brain needs to figure out how to do this. Okay, so in order to find any zeros, the potential zeros, we're looking at P over Q. P over Q in this case is going to involve roots of 74, factors of 74. That's 1, 2, 37, and 74 over factors of 1. So we're ending up with the rational roots, the possibilities, will be plus or minus 1, 2, 37, and 74. I'm going to concentrate around in here. I'm pretty sure I can find one there. So let's try 1. We've got 1, negative 8, 55, 138, and 74. I'm going to do synthetic division here. Let's see, that'll be 48. And we're getting way out of there. That's going to be 186, but still, we're getting way too high. Let's try negative 1, bring it down some. Negative 1, negative 9, 9. So what are we getting there? 64, negative 64, getting 74. There we go. Okay, so there's a 0. Yay, we're done. So now what we've got here gets jacked down 1 from x to the fourth. So this will be x to the third minus 9x squared plus 64x plus 74. We still don't have a way to factor that because it's not a quadratic. So let's try another number. Oftentimes with x to the fourth, we'll be doing some bouncing things. You know, they'll be touching and bouncing up and blah, blah, blahing off there. So that number may be a match. What I'm trying to say is if negative 1 is a root, it may be a turnaround. So negative 1 may work again. So let's try that. So we're going to be using these numbers, 1, negative 9, 64, 74. And there we go. So we found another root. So in our zeros, in finding all the zeros, we have negative 1 as one of them. It happens twice, but we'll only write it once for my math lab. It's a turnaround place. Not there, of course, over here on this side, but whatever. So we're left with x squared minus 10x plus 74 equals 0. That's a quadratic, so we can go ahead and factor that. Problem is, it's not going to factor nicely. Signs need to be the same and they need to be negative. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 74. We have them here, 1 and 74, 2 and 37, who add together to give us 10. That's not happening. So we're going to need to use the quadratic formula. So negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. So let me give some room here. That's a negative 10, so 10. 100, this will be a minus sign, and that's 4 times 74. We end up with 296 over 2. So we get 10 plus or minus negative 196 over 2. 196 is a perfect square, so that's going to come out as 14. We've got the square root of negative 1, which is an I. So continuing on here, we get 10 plus or minus 14i over 2. All of that will reduce, giving us 5 plus or minus 7i. So our three roots are negative 1, way up here, and then 5 plus 7i and 5 minus 7i. Okay, if you can follow that, you're good to go do number 16. I'm going to do another version of number 16 just for folks that need another repetition of it. So I'll give you that problem. Say we've got f of x x to the fourth, 2x cubed, plus x squared, plus 12x, plus 8. Finding all the zeros. We're going to be finding 4 zeros again, very similar to the previous problem. I know that P over Q is going to give me 1, 2, 4, and 8 for 8, and 1 for Q. So we end up with plus or minus 1, 2, 4, and 8. And again, concentrate on the easy ones. Concentrate on the 1s and the 2s. -1 seemed to work on the previous problem, so let's give that a shot here. There we go. Get a 0 out of that. That leaves us with x to the third, 3x squared, 4x plus 8. And again, we need to see what we can do with that. So I'm going to try -1 again, thinking that it's a turnaround spot. Do something like that with something crazy going on for an x to the fourth. So I'm going to try -1 again on these numbers. And there we go. Works again. So we get x squared minus 4x plus 8 equals 0 to factor the old-fashioned way. But that's not going to happen. There aren't two numbers that multiply to give us 8 that add together to give us 4. So we're going to have to use quadratic formula again. Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. It's 32. -16. That'll give us 4i. So we end up with x equals 4 plus or minus 4i over 2. And all of that will reduce 2 plus or minus 2i. So we end up with -1 as one of our zeros. Here's our answer. -1, 2 plus 2i, and 2 minus 2i. Okay, sorry about leaving that out on Monday. I will see you tomorrow.